some of you certainly have. It was in my teens when I was at Long Beach Poly High School that I remember mourning and experiencing doubt and concern, but also hope, when we lost notables like John Kennedy, like Martin Luther King. I remember the day when that happened. Robert Kennedy, and then eventually the death of Cesar Chavez. Those are critical experiences in my life as textbook. You cannot have lived through that and not be impacted in feeling and philosophy in perspective. So those are important things. I came to the United States, I think, at a magnificent time in its history. I was 11. It was 1963, so it was right before the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Don't do the math. I know that's not but nevertheless, can you imagine coming to this country as an immigrant right before that period, and then immersing yourself at a time when there's lots of involvement and engagement and civil responsibility? Those were lessons that I could not have learned from any political science textbook. I live those things. I believe in those things. I know that it's possible in this country. Therefore, whatever transgressions may happen, however we struggle with our conscience as a nation many times, to know that there are those freedoms of expression and the rights of individuals that are inviolate. And that's powerful. And by the way, more powerful to immigrants, I would dare say, than some folks that take it for granted. The next big thing after the turbulent 60s and 70s, if there's any bigger thing after that, was what I call finding my bliss. How many of you are familiar with Joseph Campbell and his work? He's an amazing man, educator, philosopher, American philosopher, and he was the author of a process called The Hero's Journey, but that's not what I want to talk about. It's the connection he makes and what he urges us all to do, and what he says, find your bliss. Find that thing you love, that thing that rejuvenates you, that thing that motivates you, that thing that makes work not work, and then do it. And for me, 28 years ago, I was fortunate to find the California Community Colleges. That has truly been an amazing and powerful experience in my life. I am almost evangelical about community colleges. I've spoken to congressional bodies, to state legislators, to faculty and classified senates at conferences, to large numbers of students, to community groups, and even to, but most important, I think I've spoken to a single student many times in my offices to talk about the power of community colleges, the transformational capability that we have. It's like no other. I mean, where else can you take an immigrant like me, a second language learner like me, someone who becomes a naturalized citizen like me, an individual who is re-entering the workforce, or re-entering the education, or someone with a high school diploma or without a high school diploma. Someone who is seeking to do their undergraduate work so they can transfer to a university of their choice. A small business person. Or even reverse transfers. I know we have them here at CYPRESS, and I'm sure we have them at Fullerton. Folks with BAs and MAs who can't find a job and come back to us for more instruction. There is no segment like ours. There is no possibility like the ones that exist in California community colleges. And so when I hear the detractors and the critics that say, well, you can't be all things to all people, my response is that we are the people's colleges. And that we have the creativity, the resourcefulness, and the commitment to do our best for what our communities demand and what they need, and that we have to try. So, yes.
You've described what sounds like a collaborative, consensus-based decision-making model. And can you give an example where you have had to say, the buck stops here, this is my decision, even if that wasn't necessarily the most popular decision to make?
Yeah. This is sort of, I just have to, I will tell you what it was. Right now, in our district, we're going through what is called delayed hiring. All these soft words, you know, that makes it a little easier to say. Delayed hiring. And we had critical needs. Well, we have a faculty priority setting process that I might say is quite wonderful at Mesa College. Worked very hard throughout the year to set the criteria. We had our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, our 10 that we would hire with money, if money was to become available, go down that list. When the delayed hiring process came about, what we, the mechanism that was being used was, if you have 2 people leaving, you can hire 1. We understand why that is. We understand what dire circumstances we're facing. And we thought into that rule, values, principles, missions, etc., assumptions. The third person down that line was a geography instructor. And the program was dying. I mean, there was no, we had 1 full-time faculty person, and we desperately needed another one to have the program continue, to address the GIS issues we were facing. That position was not number 1. So we went back to throughout. I avoid and make sure that something that says, well, CYPRESS is better than Fullerton or Fullerton. That is so wrong. But you can be very joyous about the things that make CYPRESS very unique.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thanks again, and I wish you the best in terms of research. Thank you.